What's going on, family? Welcome back to Israel's Movie Reviews, and today we're going to be discussing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, Part 2. And boy, was I excited to see this movie. Ever since pre-production, man, this movie had me unraveling in so many ways, and I stopped watching trailers a long time ago because I don't want to get spoiled. I hate the way they continue to spoil the movie. And even going to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, people were already throwing in spoilers, and I hate that with a passion. So I tried my best to ignore all that. And man, this I do have my gripes with the movie. To me, it was very imbalanced in many ways. But I'm gonna start off with the positive. I went into this with high expectations, and I left the movie theater I left on a satisfactory note. It didn't exceed my expectations, and I feel like in most times it didn't meet my expectations. But overall, I thought it was a solid film. This was definitely a departure from the rest of the Marvel movies that we got so far. This is definitely, they took it in a different direction. This is definitely a horror movie. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that obviously aren't for children at all, which I enjoyed thoroughly, because I didn't think they were going to take it as far as they did in the movie. Because believe it or not, the trailers don't give a lot away in that aspect. So I was really excited about that. This is a step away to me from a horror film. Doctor Strange is happy, or at least he believes he's happy in this film, and he may not have gotten the woman of his dreams that he wants to settle down with. Obviously, if you saw Doctor Strange 1, when he had that terrible car accident, he lost not only the sense of to touch and to stay still and to continue his career as a surgeon, but he lost the love of his life. And all of this comes into question in this film, which I enjoyed. He crosses paths with a rebellious teenager who can move between parallel universes, and I thought that was exciting. And I'm talking about America Chavez. We get the introduction of this female into not only the movie, but we get to see her in the MCU. This is a character that doesn't get a lot of mention because she's pretty unknown for the most part. She's maybe the last 10, 12 years she's been, coming up. I'm happy that they put her in. Her backstory is insane. She's kind of an alien with a Puerto Rican, Latino heritage background. She's also one of the first, besides Fastos and the Eternals, but she's the first main character to represent the LGBT community, and I thought that was awesome. But what I didn't like about the film was they didn't get much into it. They mentioned it here or there, but they didn't give her the backstory that I wanted her to have in the story. I think this movie had enough time to introduce that aspect of her. And, they didn't, but I liked what Doctor Strange eventually did. He's been following this girl because she has a power that not only he notices, but Wanda wants. And, Doctor Strange is unaware of this, and he goes and recruits Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, to figure out who is this girl and why are people after her, right? And Stephen Strange faces off with this enemy like no other, trading and traveling places like no other. And there's also a thin line between, friendship and foe that starts to blur in this film. And I love that. You definitely going to have to see the streaming services, mainly WandaVision, because that's another, without, being too spoiler centric, they give the backstory of what happened in WandaVision. I felt like that was unnecessary. You could have gave them this much. And for people that don't follow the MCU, well, let them go back and put the two and two together, So for those of you who did see WandaVision, this basically is right after that, pretty much. The Multiverse of Madness is a movie only Sam Raimi could make and get away with. He's legendary for the most part. The movies that, he's made from Spider-Man 1, 2, the direction and the way he utilizes his characters, it's on another level. He does have his hit and misses, but I thought this movie felt like it was half made by him, and then you could tell that Marvel definitely put their touches on it. If this was just a Sam Raimi-led film, I think we would have got a whole different film, and I think it would have been better. And that's just my point of view with that. The film is just a step away of being a fully fleshed horror film, honestly. This movie does have some chilling moments. All throughout the stakes in this movie are very, very high, and you're gonna see why without mentioning spoilers. All throughout this movie, at least on the character level, you know, you're gonna get a lot of humor also. That's what Sam Raimi likes to do. He likes to give you that humor with that horror feel, and that cheap black humor reminds me of a few of his films, mainly Drag Me to Hell. I had thought about that movie throughout this whole movie watching. I was like, oh shit, very similar feels. Like what the fuck kind of feels. Moving at a frantic speed. This movie is thrown right in your face. The first 20, 25 minutes, you're like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, usually, but you get into it. You know what's going on after a while. And it doesn't take too much time to unravel. That's what I love about the movie. Just like Infinity War, the way things went. This movie is right behind that one. There's a twist early on. And for your enjoyment, I'm not going to spoil it, but the rest will depend whether you liked it or not, honestly. But as the plot thickens, you will definitely admire the approach that Sam takes. This is a very different and unique Marvel movie in a very, very imaginable way. The visuals look gorgeous, as you can imagine. It's a Sam Raimi film. On the giant IMAX screen and the 3D film, you're going to be taken, to another place, man. Trust me, you're gonna take advantage of those screens in every turn. There were people that I was watching, and it was like when there were certain scenes that woke up, they were like, like if these objects were flying right past us, and I loved it. I think that I had a feeling that I had to hold my breath throughout and exhaled only as the credits rolled. This movie is I feel, barely 2 hours. The movie really flies by, and it flashes by in a flash where you can sit there and rewatch it again and still enjoy it and still be curious to see what happens, even though you just saw it. It's that kind of movie. I would definitely watch it again. I'm not going to watch it this week because it's Mother's Day. I got to celebrate it with the wife. I'm one of those guys that I have an amazing wife. So fortunately for her, I have to... I have to go on my way. But like I said, man, the acting to me came off great. The girl that plays America Chavez, Xochitl Gomez, I think she knocked it out the ballpark. For her first major role, I think she really killed it. I love the way that she has that spunkiness to her, that real teenager vibe. Her chemistry with Doctor Strange, I think, was at an all-time high. It reminded me of that Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland kind of vibe and feel. I really look forward to seeing her as one of the new, pretty much young Avengers going forward. Her powers in this movie are ridiculous. And that was one of my gripes too. I feel like between Wanda, Doctor Strange, and America, I feel like they gave them these ultimate powers. It's kind of crazy. Endgame to me was a masterclass on how to do a huge battle right. But, Doctor Strange's battle of Cumberbatch felt more like a battle of, like a Game of Thrones kind of feel than Endgame or Helm's Deep. I wasn't expecting a fight at that proportion, but I expected more like a massacre or slaying, and it's more than 5 minutes that go by, that particular scene I'm talking about, but I think you're going to enjoy it. Where Earth's supposedly mighty sorcerers were dropping like flies. Wong finally gets more than a cameo in a movie since his Doctor Strange movie that, came out back in 17. But the portrayal of the Sorcerer Supreme, to me, was way too weak. I don't expect him to win the villain, but now that I expect him to even last one or two exchanges with the villain, it comes off a bit fake, even though this is a fantasy film. But don't even get me started when it comes to that. But like I said, man, overall, I think that the title of the movie was perfect. This is definitely madness all around this movie. You know, the way they take you to the multiverse, I thought was exciting. The visual effects in this movie are gonna blow you away. If you thought the special effects in Far From Home or Endgame or any movie that you think had the best special effects, I think this movie really knocks it out the park. And that I already knew coming into it. I felt that because Doctor Strange 1 had some blistering effects, man, that they stay in your head, you know what I mean? But overall, the movie I thought was okay for what they were saying. I think the movie could have been way better in different aspects. Just that the fight scenes, to me, they let me down, tremendously. And it should have been a 150-minute movie with extended fight scenes instead of rushing through them just to get to certain narratives. As for me, this movie was pretty much hyped as a horror movie. They tagged it in the genre, right? And I love horror. Horror is my thing. But I didn't feel like this should have been classified pretty much as a horror. It could have been classified as a thriller, And I don't know. I don't know about Marvel's approach when it comes to the horror. But even Moon Knight, which I'm going to be speaking about in another review, I thought that was weak as well when it comes to the horror side of things. When you look at the comic, you're like, okay, I could picture and imagine how this should have been. And then when you actually see what they did with these characters, they kind of mislead you. And, the biggest plot hole is the fact that there's no reaction to, Wanda killing innocent people in this. Yeah, she kills people, spoiler alert. And I think anyone that expected Doctor Strange to face off with someone like her, to me, it just gets cheesy. And there's intense scenes that all of a sudden, instead of picking up that steam, they get slowed down. To me, it made no sense. Yeah, man. So definitely, I give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. For those who disagree with me, hit me up on my Discord. Let me know what's going on. You already know the channel. Let's rock movie reviews. Come and let's conversate, man. Love Marvel, but I wasn't too crazy about this one. But I did give it a good review, according to me. 7.5 out of 10. And that's my review. If you liked this review, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.